Scammers don't break code first. They break your attention, and one split-second choice can cost everything. Scams succeed because they target the fastest part of your brain. You can know passwords and still click a poisoned link. Scammers design scenes, a deadline, a worried voice, a familiar logo, and suddenly you're doing what they want. This video peels back that choreography and gives a straight, usable playbook so you spot the setup before you act. Starting with how they exploit the shortcuts your brain loves. Call it social engineering, the art of persuading people to hand over access or money. It's not hacking hardware, it's hacking attention. Scammers stack tiny believable details, a scraped name, a correct project code, a familiar process to make a fake request feel ordinary. Once your attention narrows, the rest is easy. In the next section, we'll map the mental shortcuts they exploit and why they work so reliably. Your brain runs on shortcuts to save time. These heuristics tell you what feels urgent, safe, or valuable. They help you cross streets and answer emails fast. Scammers design signals that mimic those shortcuts. Urgency to bypass checks, authority to close doubt, and reward to override caution. Recognizing those signals is the key defense, and now we'll walk through the exact triggers they use, one at a time. Urgency and scarcity push you to act before you think. A message that says final notice or wire today creates a fear of loss. Loss aversion makes deadlines feel like emergencies. That's why scammers set timers and fake limits. Pause and imagine a payroll email insisting a wire leaves by 4 p.m. People skip verification when the clock is ticking, which is exactly what the attacker counts on. Fear squeezes attention. A sudden alert, account compromised, narrows your focus to one fix. Follow the link, enter credentials, call now. Stress shifts the brain into fast mode, trading reasoning for action. That's why so many scams mimic security alerts, legal threats, or HR notices. The faster your body signals danger, the less likely you are to verify facts. And that's the emotional lever scammers pull. Authority works because we defer to titles and badges. A message signed by IT or the CEO bypasses doubt. Scammers borrow authority. They use realistic names, jargon, and process details to make a request feel routine. Even a single credible cue, like a familiar sender name, can trigger compliance. That's why verification through independent channels matters. Trust the title, confirm the voice. Commitment and reciprocity escalate compliance. A small favor opens the door for a big one. A scam starts with, "Can you confirm your email?" and then moves to, "Please authorize this payment." Reciprocity, someone did you a small kindness, creates obligation. Consistency makes you follow through. Scammers exploit both with tiny initial asks that feel harmless, then push for larger actions that aren't. Overconfidence and familiarity are deceptively risky. You've seen dozens of real invoices and support emails. That familiarity becomes a mental shortcut. Tech-savvy people trust their pattern recognition and move quickly, which scammers depend on. A polished spoof slips past a hurried glance. The fix isn't doubt, it's a disciplined pause built into work habits, and we'll cover how to build that pause. Scams use 3 main channels: email, text, and phone. Email carries attachments and links. Texts show short, urgent prompts. Phones use voice and timing to pressure. Each channel exploits different senses. Email targets sight, texts target immediacy, calls use tone. Knowing the channel helps you know the likely manipulation and the right response. Next, we'll dissect a realistic phishing email, line by line, so you can see the choreography. Here's a typical phishing email. Subject: action required, primes urgency. It names payroll to raise stakes. A deadline forces speed. A verify now link hides a lookalike domain. A spoofed phone number reassures you. The signature borrows a real name and title. Every sentence narrows your attention toward that single click. Spotting the choreography lets you interrupt it. And next we'll see big scams that use these exact moves. Consider the BEC case, where attackers impersonated a hardware vendor and extracted over $100 million from global companies. They registered lookalike domains and produced convincing invoices. They matched payment cycles and targeted the right finance teams. This wasn't brute force. It was process mimicry and authority. One email, sent to the right person, did the work. That case shows the catastrophic scale of a single successful con. And next is a more human story. The grandparent emergency scam is painfully human. A caller mimics a grandchild's voice and claims urgent trouble. They demand secrecy to prevent verification. Empathy and panic deliver the money. Families lose thousands before they check. Scammers sometimes spoof numbers and add a fake lawyer voice to convince. Emotional pressure closes critical checks fast. And later we'll examine scams that exploit greed, which look different but use the same brain tricks. Crypto and investment scams dress up greed as opportunity. They show fake dashboards with rising balances and pressure you to top up to unlock withdrawals. Variable rewards and social proof keep victims playing. The sunk cost fallacy kicks in. You've already invested, so you add more. Scammers make it seem like the only logical step. We'll switch to a common low-tech trick next. Tech support pop-ups that force you to call. Tech support pop-ups hijack site and authority. A loud red warning claims your device is infected and offers a tech number. If you call, a technician asks for remote access and then installs malware. Visual cues, logos, beeps, fake scans make the threat feel real. The moment you grant access, they own the machine. Stopping this requires a clear response plan, starting with the Slow Verify framework we'll introduce now. Slow Verify is a simple checklist to regain control. Stop. Don't click, pay, or call. Look, inspect sender addresses and hover links. Observe, notice your emotions and the pressure you feel. Wait. Give yourself 5 to 15 minutes to cool down. Verify. Use a second channel you control to confirm. This framework buys you time and forces the slower part of your brain into the decision loop. And next, we'll unpack Stop and Look in detail. Stop and Look are quick, concrete actions. Stop means no clicking or calling until you verify. Look means read the full sender address, hover links to preview URLs, and scan for odd grammar or attachments. Check whether the tone fits what you usually receive. If anything mismatches, treat it as suspect. These tiny steps take seconds, but break the scam's momentum. Next, we'll talk about observing your emotions and actually waiting. Observe your emotional state. Are you Russian, scared, flattered, or greedy? That feeling is a cue, not a command. Then wait. A 5 to 15-minute delay dissolves urgency and exposes inconsistencies. Use that time to call a colleague or type the company URL into your browser directly. The pause often shows the scam for what it is. And next, we'll explain how to verify safely with a second channel. Verify using a channel you control. Call known numbers from a company directory, not the number in the email. Walk to a colleague's desk for face-to-face checks. Type the URL yourself instead of clicking. For payments, use pre-approved vendor lists and call bank callbacks. Verification forces the scammer off their script. It's a small habit with outsized payoff. Next, we'll translate these ideas into practical workplace defenses. For teams, process is protection. Enforce two-person approvals, verified callbacks using known numbers, and mandatory waiting periods for bank changes. Publish clear communication norms. No secrecy, always verify. Train quarterly with realistic phishing drills and reward reporting. Keep incident playbooks and pre-drafted messages for banks and law enforcement. Systems and culture together reduce the single point of failure risk. And now we'll cover immediate steps if the worst happens. If you clicked or paid, act fast and skip the shame. Change passwords immediately from a known good device and enable MFA. If you entered credentials, alert IT to check for forwarding rules and suspicious logins. If you downloaded a file, disconnect from the internet and call IT for forensic triage. If you wired money, call your bank fraud line and file a report with IC3 and the FTC. Quick action improves recovery odds. And next we'll talk about why smart people fall for these setups. Smart people fall for scams because context and pressure beat raw intelligence. Easy schedules create reliance on heuristics. Polished spoofs and personalization lower suspicion. Overconfidence makes you skip steps. The fix isn't paranoia, it's pre-commitment. Write rules you follow automatically. Never click finance links, never give codes, always verify money movement, and wait 10 minutes on urgent requests. Small written commitments change behavior more than warnings ever will. Before we wrap, practice makes protection. Run phishing drills. Debrief without blame. and share wins when scams are stalked. Teach family a verification ritual for emergencies. Keep a personal checklist and post it where you work. These rituals build muscle memory, so the right response is automatic. Now let's pull this together into a simple action plan you can use today, starting with 3 immediate steps. 3 immediate steps. First, write your pre-commitments and pin them where you'll see them. Second, enable MFA and a password manager. Third, set a work rule. 2 approvals for outgoing wires. These actions cost minutes and buy massive security. Take them now, and you've already reduced your risk significantly. One last recap and a challenge to make these habits stick. Then a quick request about the channel. Recap: scams exploit urgency, fear, authority, reward, reciprocity, and familiarity. Break the script with a pause. Stop, look, observe, wait, verify. Build friction into payments and habits into daily work. Practice with simulations and make reporting easy and blame-free. Small rules prevent big losses. You don't need to get paranoid. You need to redesign your default responses. If you do this, you turn a split-second weakness into a predictable process, and that's how you beat the scammer. Is this helped? Leave one practical step you'll take in the comments, subscribe for more clear security guides, and like the video so others see it.